Good morning. Let's make sure that we are streaming to the places that we are supposed to be streaming. This is the fun part of our broadcast every morning. Facebook has not caught up yet. Let's check Rumble. Are we streaming on Rumble? Appears to be. Let's click it. Volume down. Oh, that's good. That's what volume down should sound like. The opposite. Facebook streaming good. Make sure you're following us in all of the places because over the years we have been silenced by a couple of these places. Join our live daily show. Sent. Oh, that's good. Perfect. Let's get going. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2025. And this is the TNAM Daily Show here on the new American media because the old American media has failed you.
Your guide to the truth, the new American media.
Thank you so much for joining. Quick show note. I believe tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, we will be conversing with John B. Wells, legendary broadcast figure. John B. Wells, a long-term guest of the program. I believe John said I was his first interview back on the early Coast to Coast AM days. I heard him on Coast to Coast AM once and went, now who's this fella? I'm going to reach out and say hello. And so he has jumped on the program. In fact, he and I were, well, I was developing a show with BBC and I had a chance to bring someone into the program. And I was like, yeah, that'd be John B. Wells. His generation, my generation, this would be pretty good. This could work. But of course, it was the BBC, and it did not turn into the right opportunity for a multitude of reasons. They're one of the, I don't know, they don't call them showrunners or managers. One of the main points of contact I was working with said, look, the company decided to move away from lean-in television, like edge of your seat, like what's going to happen next, into more lean-back television, like game shows and more laid-back fare. So it wasn't exactly the right time to do, what were they calling it? They were calling it All American Conspiracy was the working title of this program. And at the time, I remember at the meeting, I had several meetings with these people, but it might have been the last one. It was coming up on the election, and they asked my thoughts on the 2016 election. Oh, what are you thinking about 2016? Are you going to vote? Do you like any of the candidates? I'm like, yeah, I'm voting Trump. That's easy. And they're like, are you serious? They were like aghast. They couldn't believe the people in the room, multiple people in the room, guys, girls, BBC. But remember, BBC. Consider the source, consider the funding, consider the apparatus, consider their track record. They were flabbergasted. They were appalled. So anyway, for a multitude of reasons, we didn't end up doing that show, which is frustrating because it seemed like a pretty neat opportunity in theory, but communism works in theory, say the Simpsons, because it doesn't work in reality. So tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, programming note, try to join us live. However you're watching today, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I definitely love having you in the program, having your conversation, having your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your jokes. Drop them in the comments, and when the comments start flowing, I will put it up on the screen and we can get into the show that way. This is the TNAM Daily Show. We're going to talk about several different subjects. We're going to buzz through the sports world because it's a daily show and it's not super important, but it's like a little piece of ginger before you go to your next piece of sushi. Kind of cleanses the palate, gives you a little something else to talk about, think about, work on, consider. And it's stuff that a lot of people do tend to look at in their daily lives when they're opening up the news for the first time. Get a feel for what's going on. Of course, we're in the middle of playoff season with the NHL and the NBA, and some teams have advanced. So we'll give you an update there. Also, our main topics today: Biden's aggressive cancer. Does it prove years of lies? We will discuss. Also, a sad announcement from comedian, comic, creator of the Dilbert comic. Really one of the better pundits out there. I've enjoyed his daily show years and years now. You know, I don't know why we need to always give disclaimers when we talk about other people and their content, but it's not like I always agreed with everything you had to say. Yeah, nobody agrees with anybody they have to say. It's such a weaselly thing to no, I'm not really a big fan of his. What do they say on the? I'm quoting The Simpsons again. No, I don't agree with his Bart killing policy, but I do agree with his Selma killing policy. I'm going to vote Sideshow Bob. Now, but Scott Adams has announced that he has the same diagnosis as Joe Biden. And I've been picking up on it for a while now. And I don't have a direct line to Scott Adams, but I did send a message out on X and invite him on for a chat. I'd love to get his thoughts on the comic process, because I've been performing stand-up comedy for several months now, and I'm learning and I'm trying to figure out how I want to express myself, and the whole Dilbert process of creating a comic, going syndicated, and then getting canceled, and then revamping what he does to a different methodology. Legendary figure. So I'm going to discuss that and more. If there's any topics you want me to cover, please drop a message in the chat. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching today's show. If you're on Facebook, hit the hearts and the thumbs up button. Everyone out there, the New American Media is in the following places, scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Please link up with the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube at the New American Media. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_Media_. And our podcast is the Agree to Disagree Show. That'll cover all the TNAM AM shows, the TNAM Daily shows, all of those shows. It's all under the Agree to Disagree Show. Please link up with us on Spotify and Apple. And finally, if anybody wants to throw a tip in our tip jar, we have monthly subscribers on Patreon at the New American Media. That's one business model we're trying to use to circumvent the demonetization and censorship of YouTube, Google, the censorship and demonetization of Facebook, Instagram, Meta, and the legacy damage done by Twitter when they limited our account and have blocked functions for us to use, even though it's X now. It feels though there might still be some legacy code sitting around that's limiting our content from being seen by others, but we're going to keep pushing. We're on Patreon at the New American Media. Also, traditional Venmo and Cash App. We're at Brian Engelman. Toss a tip over. It definitely helps keep the lights on. And PayPal at Fuzz Installment. That's all scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And as always, with a forced message here at, I'll do, what is it? Blink, 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 blink. I'm going to blink out SOS, because I have to tell you, for countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. That's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. All right, let's get into the first thing I want to get into is a buzz through the sports world, and then we're going to get to all of the Joe Biden stuff and the other stories, an Epstein update. I mean, man, Bongino and Cash Patel. Did you see that interview with Maria Bartiromo? I don't even know what to make with what we saw there, but we'll get to it. We will get to it. Let's go not that way. Not that way. I guess this way. NHL, we know who are competing in the conference finals now. Dallas won their series 4-2, and the Stars are now going to take on the Oilers. Jets played. Sorry, I'm reading this backwards. All right. Stars, Oilers. Game 1 starts in 2 days, the 21st. Stars at Oilers. Oilers beat the Golden Knights. Stars beat the Jets. We're down to 4 teams. One of these 4 teams is going to win the championship. Carolina Panthers advanced past the Maple Leafs 4-3. Huge Game 7 win. And they will meet the Hurricanes, who offed the Capitals. So it's Panthers v. Hurricanes, Stars v. Oilers in your NHL. Good luck to y'all. We know the 4 teams who have advanced to the conference finals in the NBA. We saw the big game yesterday. It was Oklahoma City with a 32-point romp over the Denver Nuggets. Look at that. So now the 1 seed Thunder take on the number 6 seed Timberwolves in the Western Conference. Game kicks off tomorrow, best of 7 series. And in the East, game will be Wednesday, it looks like. Pacers taking on the Knicks. So your NBA champion will either be the Pacers or the Knicks or the Thunder or the Timberwolves. Best of luck to ya. To ya. Who won the, let's see, the big golf one? Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA Championship in Charlotte, winning the Wanamaker Trophy. 3rd major title. Bravo to Scotty Scheffler. 3rd major. And Scheffler, a used new driver at PGA. Oh, he used a new driver at the PGA after a failed test. So there you go. That's what's happening in your world there. And in opening weekend, we got some Caitlin Clark stuff going on. This Angel Reese. What team are you? Are you Team Angel or Team Caitlin? I think it should be obvious which side you should be on if you're going to have a side. But we'll get into that. I got a couple tweets about that. We will leave it there. All right, let's stop sharing that. Now let's go to the news. Where is the Instagram feed? There we go. Ahmed here says, oh, that'll work good. They hid his mental decline. They hid his family dealings. They hid his cancer diagnosis. The left has spent nearly a decade covering up for Joe Biden's drastic decline. They lied to the American people. You're darn right they did. Okay. There we are. Real Ben Geller says, now we know that Joe Biden had the cognitive function of a jar of applesauce. After the Her tape, all of his pardons should be voided. Immediate action should be taken. Whoever controlled the auto pen and the puppet Joe Biden should be charged with treason. Let the games begin. You know, that was the image that I shared to you. Where could I show this? All right, that's playing. The image that we shared today, our profile image, our thumbnail for today's program is Joe Biden on puppet strings. And, you know, today we're living in a situation where it's been announced that he has advanced stage cancer. And the political pundits have come out of the woodwork saying, you've had 4 years of the best medical care on earth as the resident of the United States. And you're telling me this has gotten this advanced, this quack? It's this. How did I phrase that? That this condition has advanced this quickly? It's unbelievable to many figures out there. It's easy to self-diagnose. It's easy to armchair quarterback, armchair diagnose, armchair doctoring, armchair medicine. But even though this moves fast, I mean, we've known that Joe Biden has not been with it physically, mentally, for years and years. His campaign, where he won, air quote, if you're listening, in 2020, campaigned from a basement. We all watched it. Oh, he was hidden because he was a train wreck then. He's a train wreck now. And there's a call to pray for this man's soul. There's a call to show grace. There's a call to be the bigger man here, you know? As my deceased younger brother laid in a box in that room after the service, was halfway through when he reached the point where other people would come up and speak. It was my father that said, if Donald Trump was our president, I believe that my boy would be alive. At the same time, while Joe Biden, and when I say Joe Biden, I literally mean the people pulling his puppet strings. I've been covering this for years. He hasn't known what's been going on for a long time. He was the puppet. He was the figurehead. At the same time, while his puppet masters were flooding America with 30 million unvetted people, I mean, at the height of Corona, 2020, 2021, his administration was kicking people out of the military if they didn't take the forced vaccination, making sure that we couldn't travel on airplanes and we couldn't work government jobs. And we couldn't travel. We couldn't go to the store. We had to be quarantined. Oh yeah, a couple weeks to slow the spread. By the time Biden seized control in a coup, and I will never say anything other than that's what happened, the presidency was wrested, WRESTED, wrestled away from President Trump. You know, when Time Magazine admitted to fortifying the election, all the Zuckerbucks and the drop boxes and the big blue cities to carry all of those swing states, or fraud states, where they all had to pause magically, roughly around the same time. And it's going to take us a little bit more time to make sure we count all the votes, i.e. the votes needed to win. Okay. To overcome the easy landslide re-election. Joe Biden, his puppet masters specifically, they went on the warpath on Florida and the rest of the country against monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies were a treatment that was shown to help people with COVID get better. And if people were getting better without the jab, they couldn't make as much money. They being everybody who were dipping their beak in to get a little taste. You know, 10% for the big guy. No, I don't mean Fauci, although everybody dipped their beak and got a little wet, I'll take a few 100 million, tens of millions, a couple million. All right. Whatever the number is. Everybody's got a number to sell your soul, right? Right. Monoclonal antibodies demonized by Joe Biden and his administration because Florida was having successes. So at the time when my brother got sick, the doctors were terrified of recommending these things because they were being threatened with a loss of their law license. Yeah. Let's never forget that. I've said law license, medical license. They said, "Oh no, the new strain. It's not really effective against the new strain." As if they knew what they were talking about. They didn't. They didn't this whole time, lying to you about a bat soup. It was an intentional lab release that they still claim could have been accidental. I don't believe it was accidental. It was a lab release from Wuhan, China. Confirmed. Shit that got me kicked off of social media. So at the time when I'm fighting the biggest demon imaginable, I was being silenced by Facebook, silenced by YouTube, silenced by Twitter. Back before Elon bought it, I believe. I'm trying to remember how many years Elon's given us at least one free platform or freedom of expression platform to use. Monoclonal antibodies demonized to the point where doctors were scared to prescribe it, and they didn't even know where to find it. My brother sought it out when he got sick, and he was told that they didn't have them anymore. They were canceled. They were forbidden. They were yanked. They weren't allowed to do them, and he didn't know anyone that did. Turns out 6 miles down the road, monoclonal antibodies were being offered. But this doctor was terrified. This doctor was threatened. This doctor was coerced into making sure he couldn't offer that as a solution to somebody who wasn't going to take that jab. So there's that. Gets into the hospital and we're like, all right, we want to be on the Merrick protocol. Oh, well, we can't give ivermectin. You can't give ivermectin? Billions of doses served? Minimal side effects, if any, compared to the massive amounts of side effects. They only had a plan. Here's remdesivir that's going to shut down some of your organs to the point where many of the nurses called it run death is near. That's what the nurses said. And then we're going to jam a tube down your throat and then slide you into a grave. They said, we got a 3-part series to get our hospital the most amount of money. I mean, to get you healthy. They didn't care about getting people healthy. They had a protocol. They couldn't steer from it. They couldn't veer from it. And my brother suffered. Couldn't get a vitamin C drip. Most basic component of the Merrick protocol. The stuff that was actually helping people. Not allowed to help him. Couldn't get ivermectin. We had a series of people. I was reaching out everywhere on social media trying to find people that could obtain ivermectin. This was in 2021, 22. What even year was my brother killed? He's been gone for what, 3 years now? 22. I'm trying to remember what year it was. 21, 22. I guess it must have been 22. Yeah. 3 years now. God. Because Joe Biden wrestled power away in 21 after the 2020 election. So it was like a year later. Couldn't even get the drugs that we wanted. Ones that might actually help, might actually do something. Might. What I do know is they were denied. Refused, actually. They had a one-size-fits-all approach that the Biden administration forced on people. One size fits all. One size does not fit all anywhere, ever. Withheld the hydroxychloroquine, withheld ivermectin, and we still found it. Had to pay through the nose for it, but we found it. And we had teams of people driving it from here to there, and then someone picks them up in a parking lot, then takes it from there to there, and takes it to someone that takes it inside the hospital. And inside the hospital, we were told, well, we're not allowed to give that prescription. Like, it's like a Tylenol. It doesn't have like the side effects are minimal, if anything. Like, yeah, we're just not allowed to. We cannot administer it. And bless the nurse that told us, well, here's the deal. So if somebody wanted to take a pill, and for someone of his weight, they'd use this amount of milligrams, and let me look at this container. So it's X amount of milligrams divided by, all right. So if somebody of his weight were to take ivermectin, they would want this many milligrams. And this many milligrams would, here, how do we switch this? Hang on. There we go. How many milligrams it would be. Here's how we would take the pill and crush it into powder. Here's how we would mix it with water. And here's what we would remove on the ventilation tube right here. And we would pour it in this way. And then we would administer this every 8 hours, if that's the, whatever. They walked us through it. They said, now we can't do that, and we're not allowed to let people do that or encourage people to do that. However, anytime that you would like me to step outside of the room for 10 minutes, please just let me know. I'd like a couple minutes alone. Wink. Like, my hands are tied. I'm going to lose my livelihood if I do this. But if you decide to do it, let me walk outside. I won't see it. I won't know about it. I didn't encourage it. Wink. We were fighting a disastrous protocol scenario because of what Joe Biden and the monsters surrounding him pushed upon our medical industry. They couldn't make as much money if people were getting healthy on monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, Z-Pak. They couldn't make money. Now, was that the reason? It played a role as one of the reasons. Was there population control concerns? Countervailing views on health and elections, cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. Scrolling at the bottom. I am saying this under duress so that I don't get deleted. So when I look at Joe Biden, I don't just see the person who I deem responsible for stealing the elected leadership in America in 2020. I see the person that my dad blamed for my brother's demise. I see the guy that abused Hunter to the point where he created that degenerate weirdo, the one who was allegedly showering, according to Ashley's diary, inappropriately with his own daughter, who was always out there touching and sniffing the hair and touching ladies and little kids. I see the guy that was up there with Alejandro Mayorkas talking about how white people will be a minority in America, and that's a good thing. Come on, man, that's a good thing. Good, bad, why would that be a good thing? I've seen Joe Biden at work long enough. My name is Inigo Montoya, and I hold Joe Biden responsible for what happened to my brother. So, on a day like today, I'm not going to dance. What is the appropriate reaction? What should be the appropriate reaction for someone like me, who my family holds Joe Biden responsible for the loss of my only sibling, my niece's only father? And by the way, she ain't over it. His widow, she's not over it. Me, I'm not fucking over it. Joe Biden has been sick for a long time. Joe Biden has been sick in the head, showering with his daughter, creating that monster Hunter Biden, in touching and sniffing all those kids for God knows how long, perpetuating all of that human trafficking across the southern border. He's been sick in the head probably for decades, going back to when he started banging his babysitter. I don't like the guy. I don't like anything about him. From Abbygate to the COVID protocols that killed countless millions of people. I'm struggling how to cover this. I'm just giving you the background. I'm telling you how we feel. I'm not going to do tap dancing and high fives and laughter. There's nothing funny about anything this Biden character has destroyed. Guy is a walking wrecking ball. So on a day like today, I just wanted to give you that perspective. Oh, let's throw some comments on the screen. Hello, everybody. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. However you are watching today, give me your thoughts on Biden. In a sentence or two, how do you sum up? Like, what are you feeling right now, knowing that Biden's on his way out? Remember that event in Vegas with the airplane? Had to turn around, and then they denied it happened. Then it turns out it was actually 100% true because we all knew it at the time. No, you can't say just Laura Loomer knew it. She reported it, but it was being reported from multiple places. Lied about it. Just everything was a big lie. Kamala Harris's presidential aspirations. Could you imagine a party so pathetic they would put someone like Kamala Harris for the most important position in the world? It's literally unbelievable. Literally unbelievable. Let me read you a comment that I had. Hello to Mavro Savannah. How are you, Mavro? Where are you watching us from? We got David Ban up in Ontario, Canada. And we'll get some more regulars popping in here as the show continues. Thank you, everybody. Let's just glance at the comments here. Mavro saying Joe Biden cost our investment group in 2020 a full $1 billion in a loss. Yeah, there's no way to put a monetary amount on a human life. I know actuaries, and I know that for the sake of courts and settlements and judgments and negotiations, yes, you can put a value on a human life. But I mean, my brother was an NRA certified instructor, making members of his community deadly, lethal shepherds to always be on the lookout for bad people, and so that you could protect the things that matter most. My brother made people better with his militia work, with his NRA certifications as a trainer. And that's just gone. All of that knowledge, all that wisdom, all that training and coaching, inspiration, just gone. Sommelier. It's not easy to become a som. It's harder to become a som than it is to get into an Ivy League school. Now, that was before we learned how racist and backward places like Harvard actually were. We used to look at these Ivy League schools with reverence. We don't now. But they're just saying it was hard to get into. Now it turns out it's not hard to get into. Major requirement, you cannot be straight, white, Christian, or male. As long as you're not straight, white, Christian, male, oh man, I guess it's kind of easy to slide a bunch of people in so you can continue cranking out radically indoctrinated people to be the foot soldiers of your globalist takeover of America. That's what the Ivy League schools have turned into. Point is, the sommelier knowledge that my brother had and the execution, his ability to perform on the test and go out in the field and work in that industry and it's just such a net loss to society. So much training, so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so much coaching. It's just gone. In the broken lives of everybody who doesn't get him, his coworkers, his family, friends. What is the economic loss there? Yeah, you lost $1 billion. That's a ton. How much did America lose? And it's so weird. The Supreme Court, they're just like, yeah, we're going to make it really hard to get rid of the people that Joe Biden flooded into this country, 30 million illegally. We're going to make it harder to get rid of them. It wasn't hard to squeeze them in. By the way, at peak COVID, no testing for COVID. That's how you know. That's how you know the Democrats are monsters, pure, true monsters. The Obama doctrine plan of colonization, flooding America with 30 million non-residents to try to eventually get them citizenship, to get them on the voter rolls, get them addicted to free Democrat money, handouts, NGOs, government spending. Oh, of course, you want your paycheck to continue? You better vote us in. Bam, America's taken over. Not a single shot fired. What was January 6th about? It was about saying, hey, hold on, these 7 states that were hundreds of thousands up for President Trump, and they magically pause, and then it takes them. enough days to just find enough ballots. Shocking. Oh, we found another box. Well, what do you know? To get Joe Biden over the finish line. Look, how much damage has that guy caused? Look at Ukraine. Biden, Obama, Victoria Nuland have been pushing that since they overthrew Ukraine in 2014, put their puppet Zelensky in, another puppet, and then pushing. NATO. More weapons. And finally, Russia's like, I'm sick of this shit. We're done. Get out of here. And the U.S. has been waging a proxy war against Russia, poking the nuclear bear for potential nuclear World War III because of Biden's efforts. Hunter Biden, Burisma, money laundering. And by the way, the deep state hated Trump so much for exposing Biden's Ukrainian money laundering as they pushed to create a World War III potential conflict. And by the way, it's still not resolved. It still could escalate to that. That's who Joe Biden is. That's the Joe Biden legacy. So as a Christian, I'm struggling to find grace and peace in this moment where, let me read you the conversation I had. I mentioned this a second ago. So my friend Adam says, sends me a text. He says, Laura Loomer is never wrong. Actually, let me get to that in a second. I'll keep this up here for a second. David saying, my thought is it's not been the real Joe Biden, so they, being the deep state, are all responsible. I mean, the guy looked different, acted different for a while. Has he been gone for a while? That's a theory that's been out there for a while. I don't know. Mavro Savannah say from Vancouver, Canada. What's up? I've visited there. Thanks for joining us, Mavro. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Mavro saying Scott Adams' cancer is more annoying. Yeah, I mean, he's been consistently putting out one of the best punditry programs for years and years. It's one of my only go-to programs. His show helps me kind of counterbalance some of my original instincts and reactions, gives me some additional points to consider. Like I said, I don't always agree with him, but I do. No, Scott Adams has been one of the best. Mavro has no feelings on Biden. But this is what it was. That it's an easy way out for him, David says. That's the point that I was getting at with my friend's text. Bella's chance. What's up, Bella? Bella on the Cape. Bella agrees it's wrong to wish ill on anyone, but with Joe Biden, it's oh so tempting. I mean, are we going to become the people who were praising the shooter and Butler, upset that they missed? Democrats being the party of violence, political violence, and coups, in conjunction with the deep state all across the globe, really to put in the bad people that are going to abuse the citizens, whip them, steal their stuff, instead of someone that's going to fight for the people and try to help them. Is that what they said Gaddafi was doing? Yes, Gaddafi with a bad track record 20 years ago, but he was working to create a good currency system, a good water system, and really be a champion for his people. And then Hillary, we came, we saw, he died. Couldn't have that. It's getting a little convoluted now, but yeah. So as a Christian, it's hard. It's hard to not wish ill upon these demons, because I consider these people to be demons, subhuman. I do. Is that mean of me? I'm just basing it on their actions. The things Biden has done to me personally. Here's the conversation. Here's the point. So I get the text, Laura Loomer is never wrong. It says, Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. As I reported several months ago, Biden has been terminally ill for a long time. It's just been kept a secret. Terminal means 6 months to a year to live. Of course, there's always outliers, but in July of 24, I reported on his terminal illness diagnosis. He won't be alive much longer, in my opinion. He and his family are announcing this now to make people feel bad, since there's a book coming out about his mental decline and the cover up about how sick he's been over these past 4 years. Everything I reported on last year was and still remains true. See the post from 24 below. He'll probably be sent to hospice soon. This was for immediate release, May 18, 25, statement from the personal office of Resident Joe Biden. I don't consider it to be a term. You're not going to be able to make me consider the Joe Biden nightmare to be a term. They're saying Joe Biden has been seen for a new finding of prostate nodule. A new finding of a prostate nodule. I got a sneeze coming on. Hold on. I love my cats, but I'm actually allergic to them. They were jumping all around earlier today. Joe Biden experiencing urinary symptoms on Friday, diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9. And so my reply to my friend was, that monster, being Joe Biden, that monster is going to escape the justice of exposure. The justice of exposure. He'll never know how much he was hated when he leaves. He was insulated and senile. That dude abused both his kids, robbed America blind, flooded America with sleeper cells, and went full turncoat that's a hard phrase to say. And went full turncoat authoritarian, leading to the banning of ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, monoclonal antibodies that could have saved my brother's life in COVID. 0 tears here. That was my private conversation to my friend. David reminding us this is an easy way out for him. My friend replies, dude, I didn't get that deep. They tried to drag his carcass across the finish line just to install a black woman. They tried to kill him 3 times. He continues, I didn't even think about COVID. I legit punched my steering wheel today about ivermectin. Like, I'm just mad about that. I was having a pleasant conversation with my mother, who absolutely agrees with me. That's how much of a trigger that shit is for me. And I won't ever allow that to happen to me again. And he sent me a picture of ivermectin tablets. I replied with a GIF of Inigo Montoya. And I said, and it killed my brother. I demand justice from Biden, Democrats, Fauci et al. And he says, I know it took your brother out, and that's 99% of the reason that I'm mad about it. I said, you're mad on my behalf of my brother? He said, I'm mad on behalf of you for what happened to your brother. It was fucking bullshit. You tried so fucking hard too. I'd take a deathbed confession, because he was there. He was like, we were all messaging and everybody was, can anyone find some? Can anybody get some? Can anybody drive some? I was in 6 hours away and trying to coordinate. And I didn't think it, never in a million years did I consider that my brother was going to be stolen from me by Fauci's disease. Never in a million years did I think that lab rat Fauci, that weasel, was going to take my brother out. I thought, all right, you got something. You're having a tough time reacting to it. You'll get you back up on your feet and better in no time. It's not what happened. He was tortured for weeks and weeks, couldn't breathe. Couldn't even take his BiPAP machine off to have some yogurt. weeks and weeks before he finally gave up and said, I'm gonna have to try the ventilator. I can't do this anymore." And after weeks of fighting, I didn't even have it in me to fight for him, to tell him, "Don't you dare put yourself on that ventilator. You're never coming back if you take the ventilator." And I had a friend that said, "No, I was on a ventilator. I got in an accident. I was out for a while and I came back and it worked. Like, just, it'll be all right." And I was like, "Okay." And I probably partially blame my friend for telling me that story, which caused me to sit back and shut my mouth instead of yelling at him and the doctors, "Don't you dare. You're signing out. You're tapping out. If you do that, you're gone. You're never coming back." But I had that in my head, like, no, it worked for me. Like, it could work for him too, and it'll give him a chance to calm down and he can relax. He's been fighting for so many weeks now. He's exhausted. Would you rather be exhausted and alive or peaceful and dead? And I definitely blame Biden. Anyway, my friend says I'd take a deathbed confession out of Biden. At least we could all move on. Like, the deathbed confession, if you will, opens the door for proper punishment to go where it should be directed. Everyone and their mother knows that pardons are not worth a F. So yeah, we got that too. Who is Robert Ward? Hello, Robert Ward. You put a 3-digit number in there. Can you elaborate on that? All right. So yeah, I'm struggling today. I know my brother's family is still having a hard time with his absence. In that conversation, my buddy punching the steering wheel, and he's like punching on behalf of me. He saw how hard I tried to just anything I could do to try to save my brother from the medical industry that killed him, save my brother from the disease that Fauci released in the Wuhan wet market, or the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Then they blamed on a wet market. Then they hid the results so that we weren't able to get a firm grasp of things. I blame China. I blame Fauci. It's not like there aren't bioweapons in Ukraine as well, which was long been rumored to be a big part of the reason why Russia went in there to try to stop what was happening in one of the most corrupt countries on earth, Ukraine. Ukraine, who sent one of their henchmen to take out Trump on a golf course. So I've had a lot on my mind for the past day. But yeah, whoever controlled the auto pen and the puppet Joe Biden should be charged with treason. Let the games begin. We'll continue. There's a few more stories we're going to bounce back and forth between. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, however you're watching. This is Dan Bongino. Yeah, I wonder if there's a way to indict Joe Biden symbolically for all of his human trafficking before he's able to escape without escaping justice. Can you arrest the man and tell him we're quite aware that your policies have been responsible for the trafficking of hundreds of thousands of innocent children who've been abused in ways that are too grotesque to even talk about? Another, time is of the essence. Can you please hold Joe accountable before he's able to escape this realm? The sweet embrace of the afterlife compared to the justice that you should deserve here for everything you've done, the damage that you've caused families like mine forever. You fucking monster, Joe Biden. Here's Dan Bongino with a strong message for all child predators in the United States. That's why I'm saying this includes Joe Biden. On a day like this, we're supposed to be magnanimous, we're supposed to be prayerful and pleasant and above the fray. Don't rob me of the justice of charging Joe Biden with treason. Inaction and delayed action is going to rob the American public of putting Joe Biden on trial for his crimes against humanity. His administration's work to handcuff the doctors from helping my brother, never forgiven. Should be never forgiven. Dan Bongino talking to the child predators, including Joe Biden.
With that knock at the door, it's on Amazon. That's going to be us. This is a huge job. And Maria, not only does it destroy innocence, I said to everyone in the room, say week 2 or 3, when Cash and I put Restoring Justice together to go get these mutts off the street, these kitty pornographers and these animals, right? I said to everyone in the room, I said, you know why it's going to matter to America? Because everyone in the room is a child or a parent, right? There's no immaculate conceptions here, right? I love Jesus, but there's no one in the room, right? I said, this matters. And not only that, it creates generational crime, because abused kids then become abusers in a lot of these cases. I said, we have a chance right now. I said, we got to go make their lives painful, these bad guys. And we went and we locked up in a month, 400? We saved 115 kids. And you haven't even seen the beginning, because those 400, a lot of them are talking. And when you log on to that network next, you have no idea what we're doing. You think you're safe in your dark web? I promise you are absolutely not safe. You have no idea what we can do. Yeah, with that knock at the door.
We said Joe Biden's human trafficking crimes need to be called out while Joe is still around to answer for his debauchery. Please indict Biden while we still can. Never let him escape justice. We'll see. A lot of talk from the Republican cabinet. I want to see actions. Did you see this over the weekend? This was... Are we going to see some big arrests this week? Hey, I'm going to hold my breath. Ready? You get the point. I'm not really going to hold my breath because I'm not holding my breath. But yeah, I mean, can we please indict Joe Biden while he's still alive to pay the price? Just because you're sick. By the way, he's been sick for a very long time. Don't use that as an excuse. Oh, he's old. He's been old for a long time. He was a puppet 5 years ago. Don't act like this is some brand new revelation. We all saw what we saw. All right, Inside History is saying the Brooklyn Bridge boat accident is worse than anyone thinks. The Mexican Navy's tall ship, Chuauhtemoc, carrying 277 people as part of a global goodwill tour, struck the Brooklyn Bridge in a dramatic and unexpected crash that is raising serious concerns. The ship reportedly lost power. Oh, isn't this the second time a ship lost power and took out one of our bridges? Do you see a pattern here? This is now a pattern. Francis Scott Key Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge. Ship reportedly lost power while navigating the East River and was traveling in the wrong direction, likely influenced by the river's strong currents. As the vessel drifted out of control, it collided with the iconic bridge, snapping all 3 of its towering masts, each with crew members aboard, causing a terrifying and chaotic scene. Eyewitnesses described a loud, violent impact, followed by shouting and scrambling on deck as parts of the ship collapsed. At the time of the incident, the Chuauhtemoc was en route to Iceland, continuing an international mission of naval diplomacy and goodwill. The crash not only damaged a global symbol of friendship, but also highlighted the risks of navigating such large vessels through narrow, fast-moving waterways like New York's East River. Look at all these people up here on top of the masts, up on the, above the sails. Not on music. Mute the music. So there's all these people up here, and then watch what happens. I gotta kind of switch to the doggone music. I want to play, but look, it's all crashing into the bridge and collapsing, and people are falling, and look at them all dangling from safety wires, being thrown around, falling off. There's people on these. There's people dangling. Not funny. It's music. I can't play any of it. An utter disaster. Can't play it because it's got music. But that was something that happened. Now, I do want to get an update on this story. Let's ask Grok. Casualties, Mexican boat, Brooklyn Bridge. I heard 2 people passed away. I don't know how many injured. That's what I heard. Let's see what Grok has to say. David, I really do not want Joe Biden to pass away before he's arrested. This is why the delay. Every day that you delay going after the monsters means more kids can be abused. The counter to that is, well, we got to put things in place or else it'll be worse if we don't take our time. It's like, no, it's going to be worse if you do take your time. Just go. Just indict the people that you know. Just indict them. They're saying 2 crew members were killed. It was carrying 277 people. They say it lost power due to mechanical issue, snapping its 3 masts. Cadet America, the person that passed away was called Cadet America. Yamilet Sanchez from Veracruz and Adel Jair Maldonado Marcos from Oaxaca. 22 crew members injured, 11 in critical condition, 9 in stable. 19 injuries, 4 serious. The ship was on a goodwill tour celebrating Mexico's bicentennial of independence. No one fell into the water. All injuries occurred upon the vessel. Brooklyn Bridge sustained no structural damage and was reopened to traffic after inspection. NTSB and Mexican authorities investigating the cause. Preliminary findings pointing to mechanical failure. But they're once again saying a mechanical issue caused them to lose power, hitting another U.S. bridge. David, I really don't want Joe to leave and escape his job. Like, that was my initial reaction when responding to my buddy. Like, please don't let him escape justice in this earthly realm. I know our good Lord is going to issue the permanent justice that's due a monster like Biden. But I need to see some earthly justice. Hit like, hit subscribe, everybody. Drop your comments and questions into the chat so that we can consider it and work it in as part of the program. Hey, remember that one time J-Lo cried? Why can't I read? I can't read it underneath. How about just play? Where's the volume? What's going on?
But you know what?
She's warning Americans about President Trump, and she promised herself she wouldn't cry, but she never warned a single soul about Diddy. Doesn't that say all you need to know?
You know what? We should be emotional. We should be upset. We should be scared and outraged. We should. Our pain. I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional, but you know what? You know what?
You know what? You were with Diddy for how long? You didn't warn anybody. You let it keep happening. You were part of it. I don't want to hear your opinion. So, what do you say here?
You said
Ross DeBoss. Let's watch this one. Switch on, make sure. Okay, yeah, good. I think you can see this. No volume. Okay. You said
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregation.
And he was looking up and to the left, up and to the right, kind of like seeking his words and speaking very, very slowly.
Housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Yeah, okay. So if he killed himself, then maybe there was a phone call that happened right beforehand that said, hey, if you don't kill yourself, we're going to kill X person or Y person or something. But nobody believes this dude just ended it all like this. Sorry, not sorry. There's no way we're this stupid, bro. The dude who has the most dirt on every human on earth. Let's go. Let's go.
Our thought was, if Jeffrey isn't state's evidence in witness protection, Cash lost us with this one. Bongino too. No way. No freaking way. All the cameras stopped working and the guards went away. Not buying it.
Y'all see that Joe Biden is sick?
Here's a take on Joe Biden.
Y'all see that Joe Biden is sick? And I do pray for him because I don't wish bad on anybody. That could be any of us. However, I do feel like he was sick way before leaving office.
We all saw what we saw during that 2020 debate. Remember when Fox News peddled the fine people hoax? And I stopped watching Chris Wallace. Mike Wallace. Yeah, Chris Wallace. Sorry, I went through like 9 names there. Chris Wallace repeated the fine people hoax to try to get Joe Biden elected. I was done with Fox after that. You knew damn well that fine people hoax was a hoax. And they pushed it to try to help Biden. I'll never forgive the people that were complicit in that.
We all sat up here and saw his damn decline.
Biden hasn't been normal for a very long time.
And I feel like Kamala and his entire team should be investigated because they sat up there and they forced that man to finish his term, and they all knew that he was sick because we watched it. What they did to Joe Biden was elder abuse. I cannot stand our United States government and these crooked ass politicians. Anything for image. I don't know about y'all, but all of these celebrities and these y'all.
She makes a valid point right there at the end. Just sounds like Howard Dean. We're going to Michigan. We're going to Indiana. We're going to Alaska. Breaking news. Howard Dean had to pull out of the presidential race because he went, yeah. Do you remember how stupid things were? Howard Dean had to pull out of the presidential campaign because he went, rah. She just channeled her inner Howard Dean. Rah! Come on. Don't drop this diagnosis on us 2 days before the Jake Tapper book.
Y'all see that Joe Biden is sick?
We all saw what we saw. Okay, here's some context. What do you make of this video where Joe Biden told us years ago that he had cancer? Did you notice it? I noticed it at the time. We talked about it at the time. If you were watching the New American Media and the Agree to Disagree show or the TNAM Daily Show or the TNAM AM Show, you would have seen this too. Here it is again, if you missed it. Joe Biden. The Biden regime at the time called this comment a gaffe. Oh, was it a gaffe? From the guy who was given a clean bill of health in 2024 and now has stage 5 prostate cancer? Are we being lied to? Or have we been lied to this whole time? Can prostate cancer treatments cause dementia? I don't know. Let's look.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what?
What?
The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why I can't for the longest time.
That's why I and so damn many people I grew up with have cancer. You heard that, right? I'll let it play a second time. He told us 2 years ago.
Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
There you go. He told us directly. And Democrats kept lying about it. Never forgive or vote for Democrats ever again. That party can go the way of Biden, for all I care.
And because it was a...
All right, so here's Dr. Stephen Quay. Donald Trump Jr. says, what I want to know is, how did Dr. Jill Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this yet another cover-up? Dr. Stephen Quay, prostate cancer is the easiest cancer to diagnose when it first starts and to watch it progress to bone metastases. The PSA blood test shows the rate of cancer cell growth. For even with the most aggressive form, it is a 5 to 7 year journey without treatment before it becomes metastatic, meaning it would be malpractice for this patient to show up and be first diagnosed with metastatic disease in May of 25. It's highly likely he was carrying a diagnosis of prostate cancer throughout his White House tenure, and the American people were uninformed. It sure seems to be that that's the reality here. Benny Johnson reporting that President Trump has called for an investigation into Kamala Harris for illegal campaign contribution. Quote, candidates aren't allowed to pay for endorsements, which is what Kamala did. President Trump says, how much did Kamala Harris pay Bruce Springsteen? Good morning, Deb from Sacramento. Where is Nimbus? Nimbus is sitting in my chair right now. He's in my other chair. Hi, Deb. Thanks for joining us. David asking, if the military has Jeffrey Epstein, do they have to disclose to the Department of Justice they may have him alive? Bongino and Cash are lying. They have him. They had to pull him out. They had to extract the info that they needed. Under this regime, they're actually going to go get him. That's the hope. You know, the downside is that Cash is really stupid, and so is Bongino. I don't think they are. I hope they're not. I have zero faith in them right now. You don't say. I have zero faith in Pam Bondi. And look, they can all prove me wrong. Or I'm 51% out on all of them. Or 40, I'm 49% out. I don't know. I vacillate. I kind of go back and forth between how frustrated I am with Bondi, Patel, Bongino. I never believed the Epstein thing. And the less I believed it, the more I wondered if it wasn't an extraction. An extraction. That he was removed under the cover of... and what did we see? Oh, what's the proof? We saw a photograph of someone that might be Jeffrey Epstein. And then you compare the earlobe and the nose, and you're like, I don't think this is even the same guy, but all we got was a still photo. Anybody could be still in a photo. Photos don't move. Although there's that weird thing on Apple where it's like you take a picture and then it's like... It'll give you like the wind up to the picture or the picture and then what happens after. It's weird. The pictures don't move. All that's what we got as evidence. That's not evidence. But when you wait to dole out justice, people like Biden can escape it. This is why I'm just, please make the indictments already. Just get going. I can't wait. I waited through Biden's 4 years of hell going, well, there's no way this can continue. Come on. When are they going to get him? Oh, it's a massive sting operation. It's obvious what happened here. Just get him. Arrest him. You have the info. Don't you have the info? You know what happened. Get him. Days turn to weeks, to months, to years, and it's like they got away with it. Holy shit. 4 years of this. So yeah, if the military has Epstein, do they have to disclose to the DOJ? They might. Yeah, they're talking. I mean, who's Hegseth, Bongino, two Fox News guys or two Fox guys, former Fox guys. Only those with the highest clearance know. Yeah, Bongino and Cash are at the highest clearance. Like, make no mistake, they know what's going on. I think they're lying about the suicide. Alternate theory. And by the way, when I said, like, when I was sort of insinuating that that's what was up, that Epstein's not really dead, if I had to put $10 on it, that's what I'm saying. I would, if I had to. I probably wouldn't put a bet on it normally, but if it's like, hey, you get a free $10 bet, where do you want to place it? State's witness. He's behind the scenes. He belongs to intelligence, is what people were told. So that's what I think. I think once you're intelligence, you're still intelligence. That would be my guess. Is what I'm getting at. That would be my guess. And I think they do have the highest clearance. But on this point, President Trump says, how much did Kamala Harris pay Bruce Springsteen for his poor performance during her campaign for president? Why did he accept that money if he's such a fan of hers? Isn't that a major and illegal campaign contribution? What about Beyonce? And how much went to Oprah and Bono? I'm going to call for a major investigation into this matter. Candidates aren't allowed to pay for endorsements, which is what Kamala did under the guise of paying for entertainment. In addition, this was a very expensive and desperate effort to artificially build up her sparse crowds. It's not legal. For these unpatriotic entertainers, this was just a corrupt and unlawful way to capitalize on a broken system. Thank you for your attention to this matter. A lot of his posts end in that way. Thank you for your attention to this matter, which I find kind of funny. But like Scott Adams said, he's like, I mean, it's not like Bruce Springsteen and Oprah and Beyonce. It's not like they were going to be voting Trump. They didn't last time. They weren't going to this time. It's not like any of this changed. It's not like the campaign contribution earned their trust or paid for them to switch teams. Now, if you had, I don't know, James Woods, who are some of the big Republican. Now, if Kid Rock took $10 million and came out in favor of Kamala Harris, you go, what the hell? No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Deb says, when they're always giving us the carrot and the stick, it's hard to trust anything that they say. Oh, yeah. I don't trust anything. David saying, everything that happened around Epstein's death is a conspiracy. Yep. And that Bruce is a washed-up singer, too. Washed-up singer to me. Yeah, I mean, Springsteen. Adam Carolla talks about it all the time and says, everybody used to think De Niro and Springsteen were geniuses because, good at music or good at acting. And then they started speaking. You're like, oh, this person's a dummy. It's like Adam said, it's like, I never even liked Springsteen's music to begin with. I liked De Niro's acting, but I didn't like the music of Springsteen. I've never been a fan. I've really been a fan of a lot of bands. Look, Beatles and Zeppelin, I know there's a couple of tracks that are like undeniably like that's a pretty good song. And I've never, it's never jolted me the way that my favorite music does. There's some good songs and undeniable and the talent is there, but it's never been my cup of tea. It's just never really been my cup of tea. All right, let's get over to Twitter here. Let's go to our X account. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, leave your comments, however you are watching. We have 46 people watching here on Twitter, on X alone. What were Kid Rock's comments about Bob Seger? Yeah, Kid Rock. I got a connection with Kid Rock. Kid Rock's a very good show. If you haven't seen him in concert, go see that concert. Plays all sorts of instruments. Just a great performance. Anyway, hit like, hit subscribe, follow us, share our content to your friends and family, please. The sharing really helps. Okay, let's show you what Clandestine is putting out here. This is a clip from CNN. David Axelrod, Van Jones, jump on with Jake Tapper. And now here's the blame game. This is the Spider-Man meme. Clandestine says the rats are jumping ship. Axelrod, Tapper, and Jones take turns dishing out blame for the Biden cover-up. Van calls it a crime against the Republic and says Democrats will be paying for a long time for their part in this massive cover-up.
You were on the record in 2022 voicing concerns about Biden's age and ability. Whom do you blame for the decision of him to run for re-election and the decision to hide his declining abilities as much as they were able to?
Well, look, at the top end, you have to blame him because he made the decision. But he was, and your book reflects this in many different ways.
Did Biden make that decision? I don't think he was making many decisions. He's still unaware of how unpopular he is.
He was shielded.
He thinks they're saying, let's go Brandon.
By a coterie of advisors and his
shielded by the advisors who were pulling the puppet strings. Yep, you're damn right.
Family, they were in this confirmation bubble.
And his family, yeah, Jill Biden was the one who was kind of pushing it the most, I think. I think that's been widely reported now.
And they tried to shield the world from his decline, and they tried to shield him from his own standing and his polling numbers and so on. And so
he doesn't know how despised he is because he's been shielded. He's been hidden this whole time. And that's the part that really upsets me. Like, we have got to make sure he knows how the public views him and for his role in all of this monstrosity of the past half decade. And going back longer than that, this dude had classified documents from his time as a congressional member, pre-vice president with Obama, selling this country out for a very long time. And his role in that Ukraine bloodbath should not be understated. To all the libs that are angry about, oh, Trump's trying to declare peace. He's trying to call for peace. And yeah, it's easy to get peace if you give everything away. It's like, you know that Biden and Obama were the ones responsible for this, right? No, they're not Russia. They didn't attack. Russia did this. And Trump's defending him. See, he is a Putin puppet. My God, can you understand the context of what was going on here?
At the end of the day, I have to point the finger at the people around him who didn't do him a service by encouraging him to continue.
Yeah, they were encouraging him to continue. Yes, they have. Deb saying these celebrities are sinking their own careers by blasting Trump. Yeah, it is an unpopular opinion. Bella saying, I never had faith in Bondi, but losing faith in Cash and Bongino really hurts. Yeah, agreed. All they're trying to do right now is cover their own backsides. Of course, that is the blame game. Biden has been living in a bubble, and that is my prayer. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, Supreme Architect of the universe, Spirit, Energy, Source, Omnipotent, all-knowing Creator of this of this simulation, of this video game, of this earthly experience, please, let's find a way to make sure Joe Biden knows how we have felt about him before he's able to pass on into the next experience. And let it serve as a stark reminder to anybody who tries to pull what Joe Biden pulled for all these decades, so that we'll have fewer incidents of this ever happening in the future. So mote it be. Amen. Biden's been living in a bubble. We call him Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy. David saying, and in a way, shielding Joe Biden from serious problems that are being exposed. Yes, I know. They're shielding themselves from this. Shielding Joe from the problems that are being exposed. It's the worst.
I think it was obvious to the public. It may not have been obvious to a lot of politicians. I actually think it was, but
Yes.
it wasn't politically. It wasn't politically wise in their judgment to speak out. But it was obvious to the American people, even before that debate, that the president was just too old. He would have been closer to 90 than 80 if he had won re-election, and he already was.
It's not about old. It's about competence. Whoop, let me switch this. It's not about age. It's about competence. You can be old if you're sharp and spry. President Trump, I've never seen a harder working politician in my life. It's not about age. It's about competency.
Was showing decline. So I blame the people around him, because real loyalty, and it's hard when you work for President Jake to tell them hard truths, but real loyalty demanded that they say, Mr. President, it's just not there, and it's not in your interest, and it's better for you, the country, and the Democratic Party if you leave now.
Van, I remember how emotional you were in the immediate moments after the June 27th, 2024 debate because of what you saw on the stage. And with all this new reporting coming out, and I should disclose that I gave both of you copies of the book so you would have a...
This isn't new reporting coming out. We've known this forever. Stop. Trying to pretend this is something new is one of the most disingenuous things you can do. Stop. Hard stop, full stop.
A little bit more information. Do you feel like you were duped, Van? Like, how do you feel?
By you?
First, this book is extraordinary. I don't care who you are, left, right, or otherwise. Anybody who cares about this country and about just the dynamics of power, this is the emperor's new clothes playing itself out in real time. Everybody knew, but everyone was afraid to say, except for David Axelrod for 2 years, that something was wrong here.
No, only the Democrats. The rest of us have been screaming this since 2019. We knew this in 2018, 2019. The guy's out to lunch.
And so, yeah, I was shocked. I love Joe Biden. I don't like him. I love him. I got a chance to work with him when I was a part of the Obama administration, and loved him more every day. I was shocked to see his condition when he came out, and so was the world. And that wasn't the first time he was in that condition. The book makes it very, very clear. There are people who knew and said nothing. And that is a crime against this republic. And I think the Democrats are going to pay for a long time for being a part of what is now being revealed to be a massive cover-up.
It's not just now being revealed to be a massive cover-up. Tim Pool wants to call this the biggest scandal in U.S. history. A leading oncologist specialist says Joe Biden likely had cancer when he began his presidency in 21. Dr. Zeke Emanuel told Morning Joe host Joe Scarborough on Monday, saying Biden didn't develop prostate cancer in the last 100 to 200 days. He had it while he was president, he insisted. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 21. I mean, yeah, it's some speculation here, but it feels obvious. Andy No reporting this: the Abandoned Landscapes YouTube channel managed to smuggle a hidden camera inside of an Antifa in Trantifa operations base in Manchester, England. The video provides an extremely rare look into the militants' occupation of the huge Crosley House Youth Center building. Every inch of the building inside has been vandalized, and the space is used to radicalize those who join. The whole scene feels like a video game right there. Todd Starn says when Laura Loomer first reported that Biden had experienced a medical emergency in Las Vegas, legacy media disputed her reporting. Turns out she was absolutely correct. According to Original Sin, Jake Tapper confirmed every detail, including Air Force One flying back to D.C. at breakneck speed. Too bad Tapper did not give Loomer credit for her accurate reporting. Insurrection Barbie says this really hits different now after listening to those tapes. Have you listened to the her tapes? Biden is out of it. He's out of it. disheveled, confused. This is Adam Schiff raging at Robert Hur for daring to include an accurate assessment of Joe Biden's cognitive condition in his report. Let's take a listen.
What is in the rules, Mr. Hur, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You could have said vis-a-vis the documents that were found at the university, the president did not recall. There is nothing more common. You know this. I know this. There is nothing more common with a witness of any age when asked about events that are years old to say, I do not recall. Indeed, they're instructed by their attorney to do that if they have any question about it. You understood that. You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Arizona. Did special counsel wish to respond to that final question?
Yes, Congressman, what you are suggesting is that I shape, sanitize, omit portions of my reasoning and explanation to the Attorney General for political reasons.
No, I suggest that you not shape your report for political reasons, which is what you did.
That did not happen, Congressman. That did not happen.
Schiff needs to face his judgment already as well. Deb from Sacramento says CNN fakery like they didn't know this all along makes me want to puke. I know. I concur. Here's Kash Patel sounding the alarm on the Federal Reserve. Take a listen to this one.
So I think we got to educate people that the Federal Reserve is not a public government entity. It's a private entity owned by the robber barons that started this country, who manipulate the currency to their advantage. And that needs to be tackled. Again, I'm not the economic guru. I just know it's a problem. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the solution is, but it needs to be addressed. So
yeah, it's a private banking cartel. Elon put this out. Elon's now going by Kekius Maximus. Parasitism. It's the opposite of imperialism. This is where you invade a formerly imperialist country, not to take it over, but to take advantage of its successful society and feed off of its resources for survival. So what is this? This is the Cloward and Piven strategy of overwhelming a system so that you can collapse it. So this is what happened here. Angel Reese might be the most petty, insufferable athlete in sports right now. Her jealousy for Caitlin Clark made her act a fool on and off the court. This is the play, but that's the beginning of the play. There's a little pre to the play. Angel Reese being completely unclassy, pointing at a ring. Caitlin Clark is now 5-1 versus Angel Reese. Since in college, Angel Reese was making fun of her for not getting a championship ring. Yeah, Clark is now 5-1 against Reese because Clark is actually good at basketball. Check this out. This is the play. This is from Lady Basketball over the weekend. Angel Reese shoves somebody in the back with two hands to get the rebound. That's bullshit. That's a penalty right there. Obviously, she points at it and goes, hey, 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 what is that? So she gets this rebound and she just gives her a foul. Then she got in her face and she's super jealous. And Caitlin Clark is good at basketball. There's a nice acting job. There's a lousy push in the back. And then she has the gall to act upset. So that's something that's going around. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. Do you have a thought on the issue? Do you have a thought on Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark? I know it's not as relevant as the people who have been running America, but, you know, it's sports ball. And we do cover things that happen. This was us. We just wanted to acknowledge one of the absolute best political pundits of our time, Scott Adams. We wanted to invite him onto our show for a conversation. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the great wisdom you've given us from your daily shows. Once again, if you missed it from the top of the program, Scott Adams delivered the news that, I mean, I've noticed his weakness. I've noticed several things he's been discussing. I was putting puzzle pieces a long time ago prior to today, and I had been meaning to reach out to try to book him while I still could. I felt like something was off, and something is off. And he says he has the same diagnosis as President Trump. Excuse me, former Vice President Joe Biden with advanced cancer. Thoughts and prayers go out to Scott. Really, one of the best programs out there. And I notice his shows have been getting shorter. Yeah, I don't know. All of us, we only get a certain amount of time here. Nothing is permanent. We're all going to go to the other side eventually. That news sucks. I just like, that's like my favorite. It's like there's a couple of shows that I will listen to. And that was a big one. So all the prayers in the world to Scott Adams. I don't even know what to say. It's just sad. He does some of the best work, and we need to commend him for it while he's here. A couple stories I grabbed off of Scott's timeline after he announced that today while I was listening live. So check this out. Owen Gregorian puts this out. Harvard deletes hiring guide after Christopher Rufo releases internal documents that show how the school discriminates against white men. Harris Rigby, not the bee. In the latest example of explicit anti-white racism from our moral betters on the liberal side of the aisle, Christopher Rufo just showed how Harvard took affirmative action to its obvious conclusion. Here in that document, which shows how Harvard was actively trying to increase women and minorities while purposely excluding white men. Affirmative action has always been de facto discrimination against white men. However, Harvard chose to illegally discriminate de jure by policy and crossed into explicit anti-white hiring practices. This is extremely illegal, in case you were wondering. From Rufo's report, Harvard deliberately factors race into the hiring process. The university gives committee chairs privileged access to self-identified demographic data, including gender, race, and ethnicity. By the way, that's why you never identify demographic data on a form. And if they ask you, they're not supposed to be asking you. Don't tell. Don't say what you are. I mean, especially if you're a white man, you don't mention that. I can't believe you're trying to claim that you've had that the cards have been stacked against you as a white male. Yeah, that's exactly what Scott Adams has been saying. He's been passed up for 2 or 3 job opportunities, explicitly told that I can't promote you because you're a white male. He said that multiple times. It's been weird since the 70s as a white male, when the corporate process has been rigged against us, explicitly subtracting points from our ability to potentially work for your company just because of what we look like and what we have between our legs. It's awful. Yeah, well, imagine how the other people felt. Yeah, that's why you don't do it to people. Yeah, well, that's not right. No, what's not right is doing it. If it's not good for one group, it's not good for the other. Content of character, merit-based. Pretty straightforward. Deb from Sacramento saying that Scott Adams is a true patriot. He is. This continues here. So yeah, don't self-identify demographic data about gender, race, ethnicity. No. It encourages chairs at Harvard to use this information to encourage diversity in the applicant pool, long list, and the short list. Harvard admits that some of its hiring programs have explicit placement goals for women and minorities, which, despite the university's denial, function as a soft quota. Call it a hard quota. Harvard's discriminatory programs are not limited to faculty hiring. According to one of the internal documents we obtained, the university has adopted explicit racial hiring goals for administrative and support positions under the guise of affirmative action. For various divisions and occupations within the school, Harvard lists the percentage of each workforce that belongs to a protected class, as well as target goals. Yeah, I love how you're not protected if you're evil and white. We're going to look back on this era as just the silly season of, I can't believe people used to act this way. If it's not okay to act that way against certain groups, it's not okay to act this way against certain groups. Or it's all been disingenuous. Or a combination of all of it. The university has adopted explicit racial hiring goals for administrative and support positions under the guise of affirmative action. For various divisions and occupations within the school, Harvard lists the percentage of each workforce that belongs to a protected class, as well as target goals. For example, the university declared a goal of increasing the share of minorities in one department's alumni affairs office nearly six-fold, and of raising the share of female assistants in the School of Public Health to more than 90%. I mean, this is blatant discrimination. This is not okay. This should have never been okay. After Rufo's report went viral, Harvard deleted its hiring guide from the website, but the internet's forever. Rufo says his team is now in touch with federal civil rights officials about Harvard's systemic discrimination against white men. His ultimate aim is for Harvard to pay a heavy price for brazenly violating the Civil Rights Act. Bravo. Robbie Starbuck puts this out and says, Hillary Clinton just called Republican women what? So let's get this straight. Black people aren't black if they don't vote Democrat. Latinos are stupid. Whites are racist. Women are what? And it never ends with these people. Scott Adams says, it's good to be reminded of how terrible Hillary Clinton is. Let's watch this.
What advice do you have for the first female president of the United States?
Well, first of all, don't be a handmaiden to the patriarchy, which kind of eliminates every woman on the other side of the aisle, except for very few. Lisa Murkowski.
Liz Cheney.
Yeah, there's a few. Look, first we have
Murkowski and Cheney are the worst in the Republican Party, and they're being praised by these goofballs.
To get there, and it is, obviously so much harder than it should be. If a woman runs who I think would be a good president, as I thought Kamala Harris would be, and as I knew I would be, I will support that woman.
She was terrible.
What advice do you have for the first female president of the United States?
Well,
all right. So glad we didn't have to deal with her. You want to hear about more anti-white racism? Take a listen to Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago. The reason I hire so many blacks to run Chicago is why? With the implication being that the opposite is the opposite?
Some detractors that will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else.
Your people always look out for everybody else. That is a racist implication that other races don't do that. Who the hell are you to judge what your people do? You're not in the heads of all of your people. Your people. They're not your people. They're people that also have a similar melanin content as you. They're not your people. And you don't know what's in the hearts and minds of these people. And the implication is that white people are not. White people are the opposite of this, which is why you choose this, because the other option would be catastrophic. Imagine saying the opposite of this. The reason I hire white people is because we look after all people, unlike the others. The unlike the others is the implied comma, second part of what you're saying here. What a weird guy. What a weird thing to say.
We are the most generous people on the planet.
Other people that look like me are not the most generous. Based on what? What are your metrics? Other than racism.
I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just.
That's how generous you are?
Make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are.
Bro, I took in my neighbor in Los Angeles, a 10-year-old young man. Kid I knew from when he was 5, half of his life from 5 to 10. Took him in. There was a non-zero chance that he could have became a family member. I would have kept him in my household and helped him grow up so he could become something successful in society. He happened to be black. Didn't matter. He was just a kid. He was a 5-year-old kid. I knew him from 5 to 10, half of his life. And he knew, because I was vice president of my homeowners association, 25 buildings, 216 units. If there's a problem, if there's an emergency, you can always come to me. And that was the day he came to me and said, I think something's wrong. I think my family member has died inside my house. Can you help? And we went and helped. Play cousins. Man, I entered the foster program, which is beyond ridiculous. They'll give hundreds of thousands. Joe Biden will traffic hundreds of thousands of kids without DNA, without tests, without COVID tests, without any, just trafficking hundreds of thousands of kids. My experience trying to just get approved to be a foster parent, I was a guardian or whatever the technical term was at that stage for 6 months, half a year when I had him. It was impossible. It was ridiculous. It was antiquated. It was something out of a comedy skit. And that's what it felt like. Play cousins. Yeah, dude. I brought a human being into my home to just, if he needed it, he could have just stayed his family. I would have kept him. Circumstances changed, and he was allowed to reunite with a close family member, and I hope everything has worked out great. I don't know. You don't know me. You don't know what's in my heart and my soul. Don't judge against me. You don't know a damn thing about me. Thinking you know people based on what their skin color looks like. You racist, Brandon Johnson.
I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are.
Yeah, guess what? Other people are that way too. That's just how we are. This whole line of conversation, it implies that that's not how other people are. And he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. I was ready to just make that kid family because he needed it, and I happened to be there. It wasn't on my bingo card for the day. It wasn't on my list of to-do things. But I would have done it. What was the alternative? You know?
And so, Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor, is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business.
That's a weird place to cut that off, but all right. That's weird. Here's the fake news media trying to pretend that they didn't know about Biden's decline. Don't let them get away with this. Don't let them get away with this.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Oh, yeah?
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
She knows so long as she was denied.
In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory. His understanding and mastery of a complicated geopolitical situation is remarkable.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across.
Was that the one where Jackie had passed away already? I think so.
Across the table, and he was, intense.
Have trouble walking sometimes? Yeah, so did FDR. He wanted GD war.
But he's totally focused. He's very sharp. They say he's sharp in meetings and so on.
Very lucid, very well informed.
Years of lies.
In his stately.
If you or someone if you or a loved one is suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, make sure you turn off MSNBC.
He comes with gravitas. There hasn't been, as far as I know, a single claim that Biden made a mistake. Ageism is an issue. Americans have a rich history of holding people's physical characteristics against them. Okay, you can ask African Americans.
He's older. That doesn't mean that he is unfit, and there's a lot of ageism there.
Now, this age attack, this obsession by the right.
Joe Biden may not be able to speak for himself the way that he used to.
They want to think to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, and that's him lying around.
I think people should be speaking up for Joe Biden.
Americans and reporters in the media are just judging him by a physical appearance, and it's horribly unfair. Age.
These people are non-stop about this.
Is an asset.
He showed exactly how with it he is.
The flip side of this coin is that he has a tremendous amount of wisdom and experience.
Have you heard any concerns from anyone who has met with President Biden about him seeming a little slower?
No.
More wild speculation from a bunch of people who...
Wild speculation from this news hole. Spokeshole. They call her spokeshole.
have probably never been in a room with Joe Biden and certainly don't have medical degrees that I'm aware of.
You don't get paid for performance to be president. The job is not a job of endurance. I don't see Donald Trump out bike riding like Joe Biden.
Wow. President Trump, who's always out golfing. President Trump, who week one, he's in Western North Carolina fixing the Hurricane Helene stuff. The same day he's out in Los Angeles fixing the wildfire damage stuff. He's been all across the Middle East now. President Trump is go, 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 go. Biden is fall down, fall down, fall down.
It's the Hillary's email. All they have is that he's old. He can clear a dementia bar, and that's probably a win.
The media are not fair, and they're getting less and less fair. And
Man, Donnie Deutsch. I used to like his show about like entrepreneurship, and man, him as a political guy is just awful. Everything about MSNBC,
things are frightening. You have Wall Street Journal running a horribly sourced piece saying that Biden is unfit.
Horribly sourced piece? You mean like 51 intelligence officials claim that Hunter Biden's laptop has all the classic earmarks of Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation? Is that what you mean by horribly unfair reporting, where you lie to us? That's what Donnie Deutsch meant.
Dubious Wall Street Journal report about the president's acuity.
Shoddy story by the Wall Street Journal questioning Biden's mental fitness.
Wall Street Journal story had a lot of flaws, as you said. But Sinclair, they didn't do any original reporting. They didn't follow up. They didn't do any work.
The hero of the day is Hirsch Goldberg Poland, and still, he is not here with us, but he's still being held by Hamas.
But a huge part of the Mueller report talks about Russian disinformation tactics. And one of the themes this election cycle is that Joe Biden is too old to lead. And so everyone is seizing upon this. And it is a classic disinformation tactic. And I think the best thing that we can do is to prepare the American people for this false narrative.
Classic disinformation tactic. That's exactly what I said. They said about Russian, the Hunter Biden laptop has all the classic earmarks of Russian disinformation.
And one of the themes this election cycle is that Joe Biden is too old to lead. And so everyone is seizing upon this. And it is a classic disinformation tactic.
They are running classic disinformation tactics. Dr. Stephen Quay here says prostate cancer is the easiest cancer to diagnose when it first starts and to watch it progress to bone metastases. The PSA blood tests show the rate of cancer cell growth for even with the most aggressive form. It's 5 to 7 year journey without treatment before it becomes metastatic, meaning it would be malpractice for this patient to show up and be first diagnosed with metastatic disease in May of 25. It's highly likely he was carrying a diagnosis of prostate cancer throughout his White House tenure, and the American people were uninformed. Liz Churchill here says, I found the auto pen showing Barack Hussein Obama. Take a listen.
If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man,
Joe Biden,
front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats.
In your sweats in the basement. You got Joe Biden as your puppet. You got an earpiece. You're talking to him through an earpiece.
Looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that because I found the work fascinating. I mean, I write about the
work to destroy America.
Even on my worst days, I found puzzling out, if I...
Yeah, there's your auto pen. Yeah, him and his team. President Trump, is there music in this?
And gather his friends.
Yes, there is. Honored to be the first American president to officially visit the Emir.
To the royal family.
Anyway, I can't play it because of music, which is stupid, but, President Trump trying to make things happen in the Middle East. A statesman, a true statesman. Yeah, and then he comes back and he's making posts about Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen, and it's like, but he's also this. He can be two things at once, all right? Tim Pool says Joe Biden has cancer with metastasis to the bone. Metastasis to the bone that's considered advanced. If he had the best medical care and screenings for 4 years, they'd have found it, and it means he's likely had it since before dropping out, and Democrats knew. I guess this is the same video of the boat bridge accident. O'Keefe Media Group says Ahmad Anton Facesi states the higher-ups in the intel community, including CIA directors Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel and the upper levels of their staffs, colluded to withhold information from the sitting president of the United States. In other words, Adam Schiff conspired with CIA Director Brennan to overthrow the United States government in 2016. And then, right out of a small room in Langley, covertly conspired with CIA Director Mike Pompeo to overthrow the sitting president of the United States in 2017. And conspired with CIA, this is from Real Robert, and conspired with CIA Director Gina Haspel, OCCRP, and USAID to topple the U.S. government in 2019. Mike Schellenberger says am I able to play this?
You have this new piece on Substack. That the USAID and the CIA helped orchestrate Trump's impeachment?
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home, as we've been discovering as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing. We know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing
and at home,
regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. So I think it's just one of many revelations that we'll see coming out in the next few weeks.
So USAID was involved in regime change abroad and here at home. Very interesting. If you want to read more about what Mike's talking about, go to his Substack after the show. Don't go right now. Go after the show. Thanks, Mike.
After the show.
The first of the intelligence community's surveillance targets appeared to be a former Defense Intelligence Agency, that's DIA head, and would-be Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Another target was staffer George Papadopoulos. In 2018, HPSCI, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, released a 243-page report clearing Trump of allegations that he and his team colluded with Russia to interfere with the 2016 election. However, sources close to the House Permanent Select Committee, led by Adam Schiff, covertly continued working out of a small room in Langley, and he had access to raw logs and communications from agencies like the CIA and the National Security Council. The first of the intelligence community's surveillance targets appeared to be a former...
I work in the intelligence community. I work in the CIA. I do cyber operations. I've been doing it for a long time.
So how long have you been working at the CIA?
Since 2008. Okay. I've also worked at NSA though. And then I have a TSSCI with a full-scope polygraph. That means that I'm fully vetted.
Amjad Fasisi shows her his CIA identification badge.
No, where does it say?
Does it?
Hey, that's the point.
That's the point.
What's CMC?
China Mission Center, darling. That's my mission center.
Gotcha.
Amjad talks about how the CIA kept information from Trump.
Like working?
We kept information from him.
Say one more time.
We kept information from him.
From Trump?
Yes. He's an idiot. There are certain people.
He's an idiot. The commander-in-chief.
Give him a high-level overview, but never give it to any details. You know why? His whole leak those details.
Amjad Fasisi states the higher-ups within the intel community, including CIA directors Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel, and the upper levels of their staffs colluded to withhold information from sitting President Trump.
So the agencies kind of like all got together and said, we're not going to tell Trump.
The higher-ups.
The higher-ups.
We put it this way, the executive staff. We're talking about the director and his subordinates.
Like what titles are they? They're
Director of the CIA.
Director of the CIA would keep.
Yes.
Are you guys still watching him?
I would say yes.
Like, so it sounds like you guys are still watching him and his team.
Of course we are. Nothing goes by without somebody watching.
Amjad Fasisi also states
Nothing
as
goes
fact
by
that Trump
without
is
watching.
under constant surveillance and even claims they are spying on his ex-wife.
And we also have people that monitor his ex-wife.
So you guys had human sources.
How do you think we get information?
Like wiretapping? Is that what? How did you guys figure out that Trump was colluding with the Russians? Did you guys use...
It's just human intelligence.
So the intel community was able to use spies to spy on Trump and his team. And that's how we found out that he was colluding with the Russians. Was it the CIA or the NSA that spied on Trump?
So it should be all of them.
So you're saying that your agency, CIA...
A lot of the...
There you go. This is what we're dealing with. Pompeo pulled the security clearances of people loyal to Trump. Elon says this is impressive range. Look at that. Got to mute this, but this is a artist rendering of a drone mothership that China is putting out. That's terrifying because the future of warfare is going to be drone. Let's listen to what Kash Patel announces regarding new evidence linked to Russiagate. Just look at the body language here, people. Come on. Look at this. What does this body language mean to you? Question has been asked. Getting ready to answer. Bongino's looking down and away. Kash Patel's looking up into the corner. This is weird body language to me. Something I don't know that I can believe. But let's listen.
I was the lead Russiagate investigator for the House Intelligence Committee, and I've been on both your shows in a prior life talking about it. And I'm telling you and the American public that we have now found material and information and people who wanted to hide it from the world since we got in these seats. And we, as the deputy said, we are trying to do it in a fashion where not only are we informing the American public of what happened, but we can have accountability for it. And that takes a little bit more time. And when you layer on the fact that we are rolling out our priorities on violent crime and defending the homeland, you know, we're running a three-part animal here, and we're going 100 miles an hour on each single one.
So important.
Wait, I want to add to that, too, because what the director's saying is right. You got to remember, we come in the morning, there's a portfolio of 100 level 10 items. If it's a level 9, which is a pretty big freaking deal, someone else fixed it. The only thing that gets to my desk or his is a level 10. That's the entire day. Look at his schedule any given day. I'll show you the palm card I have. It is filled from 7:30 to he leaves 7 at night, 6:30 at night. It's filled all day. We just can't focus on one thing. You want New York to go boom? DC to go boom? You want an OC organization to go hack into some cyber network and crack all of Fox News' holdings? We're dealing with all that stuff too. Everything's a priority. Everything's a priority. This is one of many things we're doing. It's not an excuse. It's just reality.
I mean, I can understand that. They seem to be a little overwhelmed. Bongino says, I haven't done many media interviews to this point, because I want to keep the attention on the work. I don't work for myself anymore. I work for you. But it's important to relay to you what we've been doing, and the media can be a tool for that. That's why we chose a long-form interview with Bartiromo for our first interview. I hope you saw it. If you missed it, here are some of the questions that were asked and answered. Yes, we're moving FBI headquarters out of the Hoover building. The process has already begun. Stay tuned for updates. Asked about details regarding Epstein. I reviewed it. Epstein offed himself. There's no evidence in the case file indicating otherwise. Not asking you to believe me or not. I'm telling you what exists and what doesn't. If new evidence surfaces, I'm happy to reevaluate. I was challenged on accountability. It's a fair question. I aggressively responded because the director and I have been working tirelessly to uncover the bad actors. We cannot get into HR specifics, and this creates an information vacuum. Unfortunately, bad actors looking to tell you a story, not the story, want you to believe that we haven't taken harsh and decisive action against rogue employees. That's absolutely false, and the bad actors know it. We were asked about FBI priorities. The director and I told Maria that the president, the AG, and the director and I are absolutely committed to getting your FBI back to its roots. We'll make your community safer. Illegal immigration ops, child sex crimes investigations, 764 cases, and violent criminal fugitive apprehensions are all on our expanding radar. All while America is enjoying the summer, we are already planning a massive operation to clean up your streets. The counter-terror and counter-intel missions are critical and will continue at our customary high tempo, too. This is what you pay us for. God bless America, and to those who defend her. Watch this video of the crash of the boat. Man, it's really bad. Ugh. Look at that. Rest in peace to those souls who lost their lives because of that.
Holy crap. You're gonna hit the dock. The camera! What is going on? Oh, what? The
whole thing looks suspicious, doesn't it?
We gotta keep moving. This is insane.
people hanging from all those upper levels. The fact that they were strapped in saved countless lives.
There's people up there. There's literally people. This is insane.
Man, oh man. Well, that happened. Oh, check out, this is from Ted Cruz, keeping on with the Harvard thing. This one is about Democrats using a new hiring policy at the State Department. Listen to this.
Nothing more than brazen discrimination. You were appointed in April 2021, and as you extensively testified this morning, you introduced fundamental changes to the State Department hiring practices. A senior State Department official broadly distributed what I consider to be a very troubling email. I have a copy of that email next to me. Let me read from a part of the email.
They thought this was okay.
The email says that hiring practices have developed inside the State Department so that, and I'll quote, that certain candidates could not be hired because they have a disability. They are white men. They are straight white men.
A disability.
They are not of the, quote, right religion. All of these are verbatim quotes.
I've never seen that before.
You've never seen the email before?
I've never seen it.
So you didn't know it had been sent. I believe as a result of your work, are you aware these practices are happening at the State Department?
Senator, I can't comment.
So you're the chief diversity
can't comment
officer, and you're arguing you are certain discrimination is not happening at the State Department. Is that right?
A disability, being a straight white Christian. This is the aftermath
Looters
here.
are out
Major
looting
tornado and people
as
are
they
stealing,
always do.
risking their lives in a building that could fall.
As they
Stealing
always
anything
do.
not nailed down. This is how a community comes together in St. Louis. Gross. Some communities come together and some communities tear themselves apart.
Stupidness. Stupidness.
Yeah, David, these people look suspicious too.
Took a direct hit. But what they got to understand is all of this stuff is insured, and while they putting stuff on video, these people don't understand they can go to jail. Crazy.
Sometimes I have hope for humanity, and sometimes I just shake my head.
And if any of them get hurt, they on their own.
Yeah, and if these stores don't rebuild, I don't want to hear anybody complaining that businesses left certain communities. Don't want to hear it. President Trump posted this. Did you ever see this one?
John F. Kennedy Jr., he was declared the front-runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found.
Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement.
In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking. An autopsy determined that Scheib's death was accidental drowning, but he might have known too much. 27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed in D.C. this year. There is speculation that he was the source of the controversial leaked emails allegedly sent by DNC staffers, and that he may have been murdered in retaliation. Then Sean Lucas, the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC, was found lying on the bathroom floor by his girlfriend when she returned home on August 2nd. His death was reported classified, pending the results of an autopsy.
To this day,
President Trump put this out. Posted the Clinton body count video, naming many top Clinton associates that have offed themselves or worse. God bless President Trump for not being too afraid to shed light on this. This needs to go viral. And I'll end on this one. Liz Churchill put this out. This is Benny Johnson talking to Michael Flynn about Comey.
We got whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, and we're funneling it into the right governmental offices to do the right things. And let me tell you, these people are busted. And so for Jim Comey, that's why I said earlier, Jim, if you get this message, start thinking about what you're gonna give up, because you're gonna give up some of your freedom because you're gonna go to jail. You must go to jail because of what you did. But maybe they'll cut you a little bit of a deal, and they'll put you in a softer prison for a shorter period of time because you're able to give up some evidence on some of these other people who are even more deeper than you involved in this. Because Jim, you know exactly who I'm talking about. We got whistle.
Is he talking about Barack Hussein Obama? We shall see. Those are the stories that I intended to share with you today. Thank you for watching. How many more bodies before arrests? I know, every day. Just waiting. Waiting on Bongino, waiting on Bondi, waiting on Cash. The waiting game. Tom Petty once sang, the waiting is the hardest part. So we shall see. All right. Thank you for joining us today on the TNAM Daily Show. Jump back on tomorrow. I'm going to do the Agree to Disagree show at 1 p.m. with Mr. John B. Wells. Looking forward to it. Check out the New American Media at the places at the bottom. Tip jar, sign up on Patreon once a month. They'll bill you $5, $15, $100, $1,000, whatever you want to donate. Patreon at the New American Media. Venmo, Cash App, Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installments. Thank you, everyone. Special thanks to David and Deb and Bella and Mavro. Robert just came in to put 8647. What a weird moment that was. Didn't have much more to say about that, but so be it. I'm going to send out special prayers of peace and strength to Scott Adams, one of my favorite political pundits of all time. And I'm not going to make a comment about former Vice President Joe Biden at this time. I'll be back tomorrow. It should be a really good conversation with John B. Wells, 1 p.m. Eastern. Join us. I will talk to you later. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.
your guide to the truth, the new American media.